I think he's like 45. I was even almost 45. I think is somewhere in that. He's definitely mid 40s.
I mean, after a while, isn't a sack, wouldn't that be considered elder abuse?
Probably so.
Now it's time for the Change for Brains podcast.
Hey guys, and welcome back to the Change for Brains podcast, a podcast where we share our nickel and dime thoughts on various subjects. And at the end of the day, you just got to ask yourself, does any of it make sense? Reintroduce ourselves. My name's Jeremiah. This is Chris. And Chris, how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. Definitely can't complain.
That's good. Episode number 2. We survived one episode. So with that, we're wrapping up, guys. Thanks for coming. I'm just kidding. No, I do want to get into some news subjects though. And first thing on my notes is what is going on with Jamorant? Has he lost his mind?
I think he has. It's crazy what's going on with Morant.
Um, what'd you say the contract was that he was about to sign if all this gets cleared up?
Oh, and I don't know the exacts. I'd read somewhere that supposedly he's close to signing like a 200 something $1 million contract that he's putting in jeopardy.
That's crazy. And for what? I mean, I can't think of a reason. As everybody's pointed out, he didn't really come from that kind of lifestyle. Why choose it why after you're a millionaire? But
But I read something today too. I don't know how accurate it is. That was saying that since he apparently had this gun in Colorado, they're questioning, I guess, if he had the gun on the team plane, and if so, it could be like a huge suspension, like 50 something games. So like he could like miss if that's true. And again, I don't know how accurate that information was, but he could miss this season.
so where was this picture taken? Was it like at a hotel or was it like a party or
I think it was a
anybody know?
club. I think it was a club and somewhere in Colorado. I guess Denver. I guess.
Hmm. That's well, hopefully it's cleared up because I mean, me and you've already talked about this a little bit off the podcast, but he seems like a good guy overall. I mean, everything I've seen up until all this weirdness was, him being nice to kids and, you know, and families and whatnot. And I mean, I've seen him give his game worn sneakers to kids. There was a little girl who got like her jersey stolen that had signature, or it might have been a boy. I don't remember. Either way, it was a kid that got their jersey stolen that had signatures on it. He took it on himself to go get another one, get like the whole team to sign them and give it to her. I mean, that's not very gangster, you know? So
Hopefully some of the teammates and coaches and family hopefully can get through to him and hopefully can get it together. Because I mean, I do think he's got potential to be one of the best point guards probably to ever play. So
I
hopefully,
agree. He's definitely one that flies under the radar. I mean, people know how good he is, but I mean, he's not mentioned up there with some of the other names like Steph Curry and whatnot, but he should be.
absolutely.
Hopefully by the next podcast, this will all play out, or at least we'll have some kind of better update. Right now, it's still he was suspended 2 games, which isn't too bad, but I mean, it could be worse. Well, I mean, I guess we'll see what happens. In other news, Jake Paul lost his first fight to a real boxer. And honestly, it was a good fight though.
It
Um,
was close.
yeah. Like I told you that night, I don't think it was a robbery by far. I mean, I I have no complaints with it. Tommy winning. I thought Jake won because of that knockdown in what was it, the 8th round. But I thought it was very close all the way up until then. There are some people saying that Tommy won like almost every round, and I don't.
That's it. I don't see that at all. I'm leaning with you. I actually had Jake winning also, and I think the knockdown And I think you're right. I think it was the eighth, but I kind of think that put him over the top. But again, it was close enough. I don't think anybody can complain either way on that one.
Well, I'll tell you what, it'll make the rematch massive.
For sure.
I don't know when they're going to do it, or if they're going to actually have an undercard or what, or a decent obviously they're going to have an undercard, but I don't know if it's going to be a decent one, or if they're just going to basically kind of do like this card where it was mainly about them two. But I heard this one did pretty well anyways. I don't know how true that is, but the reports I have read, they got around 700,000 buys.
That's
Pretty good.
That's solid.
Especially for a boxer who is only known because of his brother and a YouTube star, basically. But I mean, they put on a good show. I can't complain. So we'll see what happens with that too. We probably won't know anything about that for months to come, but I'm sure there'll be a rematch. The next thing is John Jones. Is he officially the greatest mixed martial artist of all time?
I think there's no doubt that he's the greatest, in my opinion. This last fight, I think, put him over the top. I mean, to be able to go up to heavyweight after a few years off at that, I mean, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and he made it look so easy. And he had been saying that all week. He said, this guy, he's one dimensional, da da da. And he said, I'm gonna make this look easy. And everybody made fun of his body because he had a little bit of pudge on him. But besides the growing shot at the beginning, Gon had nothing. He literally, I don't think he landed one other strike, which is, I mean, just crazy. Now, with that said, what do you think he does against Stipe?
It's tough to call that fight for me. To be honest, I wasn't 100% confident that he was going to be able to pull it off in the last fight. I did know that if he won, I was expecting it to be by submission. I mean, obviously, if Francis could get the takedowns, I kind of figured obviously John Jones, of course, could do it. I don't know. Stipe's a different level there, and obviously has the wrestling. So it's gonna be interesting to see how that fight goes.
Yeah. Well, and if Jones gets past Stipe, there's some people that are saying that he may have trouble with a Curtis Blades, but Curtis is another one-dimensional fighter. He's wrestling. I mean, yeah, he may be able to stop John's takedowns, but then John's just going to stay on the outside and pick him apart. At least that's my thoughts.
I have to kind of question if, which I don't. This obviously would be just a super fight that we'll probably never get to see. But I have to wonder what John Jones versus Francis would have looked like. And I know Dana just came out and said that there's no chance that he will ever have a chance to come back to the UFC. So I think this one's not going to happen. But I would have loved to see that fight.
Yeah, and if it does happen, it's not going to be anytime soon. And John's already 35, so. And if I'm being completely honest, John Jones is their cash cow now. He's not going to put him in jeopardy of losing against somebody that he let leave the organization. You know? Here's a question for you, though, before we move on from this. How do you think he would have done against Prime Fedor?
Like the Pride version of Fedor, I would have to think it's tough putting these people in different time periods against each other. It's kind of tough to pick. I kind of would lean towards Fedor, honestly, in his prime. So I'll make an interesting pick there. Obviously, the current Fedor, I don't think you can put too much into that. The last few fights,
Jones would destroy him pretty quickly. Actually, I think Jones destroys probably about any heavyweight right now. He may not knock anybody out. I don't think he's going to have just KO power at heavyweight, but he still has that range and just different attacks. So
I did see something interesting that I don't think I mentioned to you previously. I did see something that John Jones is still kind of interested in a fight with Lesnar. I don't know if you've seen that, but apparently that's been thrown around.
I actually did see something about. I was watching the Fighter and the Kid podcast, which is Brendan Schaub and Brian Callen, and they were talking about that earlier. I was like, will Brock really go back to it? I mean, rumor is he's about to leave WWE. Like, I think after WrestleMania, he's done. But he said that before. So here's the thing. He could go to MMA and probably make, 20, $30 million, honestly. But he can make that also in WWE doing a couple shows a year and he's not actually getting hurt. So
I have to wonder. And obviously, it kind of came out eventually that that Brock really couldn't take those punches from those really heavy hitters. But John Jones isn't really that heavy hitter. I mean, doesn't because I
no,
know DC just came out and said that he didn't really have any power or a whole lot of power. I think in an interview like a few days ago.
well, that kick tend to make DC I think differently.
I think he was talking about in his hands though, like the punching power at DC was kind of saying isn't really there with Jones.
Yeah, well,
His volume.
we didn't really get a chance to see a heavyweight though. I mean, we'll have to just wait and see how it plays out. Steve may come out and just mop the floor with him. I doubt it, but that should be a really good fight.
If I had to put money one way or other on that fight, if I had to pick a winner, I would actually lean toward Jones. I'm not confident either way. So would I bet on that fight? Probably not. But if I had to pick, I'm leaning towards Jones winning the Stipe fight.
You know who would have been another great Jones fight? And then we're going to move on from this because I don't want this all to be about John Jones, but him versus Cain Velasquez, prime Cain, the one who beat the tar out of Lesnar.
It would have been a good fight.
I mean, he was like the bigger version of DC, but man, his punching power was way stronger than DC's ever was. What he did to Brock's eye was just, man, it was nasty looking. So, all right, we're gonna move on from that, and I'm just gonna spend just a second on this because I thought it was funny. We were talking about it a little bit earlier, but so Tom Brady's playing until he's 90 years old.
That's apparently. I know we talked about it a couple days ago, and I think you asked me if I thought he was done, and I actually mistakenly said yes, I do think he's done. And then I read an article today that says that he's very highly considering coming back. So.
Well, and then they posted another one, I think, later on today, and he said, "No, I'm too tired to deal with this. I'm not coming back." But that dude flip flops so much.
The fact that it's even being talked about again makes me think that he is highly considering it. So at this point, I'm going to flip flop and I'm going to 100% say that I think Tom Brady is probably going to come back and play again.
And at this point, for what reason? He doesn't need the money. I mean, unless that divorce just cleared him out, which I doubt.
I think we are starting to see a little bit of a decline in Brady too. I felt like it this last season. I don't think he's quite the same as what he has been. So, I mean, obviously he should be declining.
He's what, 44, 45, getting in that area, pretty close.
I think he's like 45. I was even almost 45. I think is somewhere in that. He's definitely mid 40s.
I mean, after a while, isn't a sack? Wouldn't that be considered elder abuse?
Probably so.
I mean, he already complains anytime he gets sacked and is thrown just a tad bit. He wants roughing the passer. So,
and that's I hate to see, and I don't want to go back into MMA or anything here, but I hate to see these athletes like that are just I definitely like the greatest of all time. I'm like Fedor and stuff like that. I hate to see these people continuously coming back when they're past their prime.
Yeah, just hold on way too long. Like Chuck Liddell is probably the best example of that. I mean, the dude got knocked out like the last 6 fights, and they were nasty knockouts. He definitely shouldn't have took that last Tito fight. he should have just rode off into the sunset. But I mean, there's no doubt that he's going to have CTE like horribly. He was already having trouble. Sometimes you'd hear him in interviews and stuff slurring his words, and he hadn't been drinking or anything. It's just he's got brain problems from
And
all
yeah,
those wars.
the chin was completely non-existent in those last fights. Yeah, I don't understand what reason they have to put themselves through that.
Yeah, I mean, now you could jump over to a thing like pro wrestling, which is obviously scripted, but it's still physical. And you look at a guy like I was making that joke, Ric Flair, dude was still wrestling when he was 60 something. And there's no reason for that. Literally, I'm surprised he hasn't had a heart attack in the ring.
I didn't watch I don't know if you saw his last match or highlights or anything, but I mean, they were saying that he looked like he was not going to make it through that match. I don't, again, I didn't see it, but I heard that one was pretty painful to watch.
Yeah, it's at a certain point, it's fun to have nostalgia, to have him come back and do like an appearance and get a pop and whatnot. After that, just go into retirement, enjoy retirement, or do some acting, or go into something else, or be like Shaq, get like 300 endorsements and just do commercials all day. At this point, is there anybody who doesn't endorse Shaq?
No, I think it's pretty much everybody.
I mean, that guy, it amazes me. But the good thing is, at least Shaq's a good guy and he gives a lot of his money back. But all right, so we're gonna move on from sports now, because I want to ask you if you heard about this story. Did you hear about the guy who tried to hijack a plane?
I did not hear about this.
So I seen it on, I think it was Twitter first, might have been TikTok, I'm not sure. But there was a guy on a plane, and if I get the video, I'll send it to you later. But basically, he tried to open the emergency door. He had moved it from lock to unlock, and a stewardess had seen it, and she had come to question him about it. And when she came to question him about it, he like lost his mind, started freaking out, yelling, "Where's the Homeland? Where's the Homeland Department of Defense? And where's the Air Marshal? And I want him to shoot me so many times so I can show you that my body can take it, and I'll still keep coming," and all this other stuff. And like, then he gets out of his seat, goes down the aisle, and I guess somehow he got like a metal spoon and like broke the spoon part off of it, and tried to get into the cockpit and like stabbed a stewardess in the neck a few times, but then they finally got him down and held him down. And so I'm like, why would you even, like, how did he get a metal spoon? I mean, I haven't been on an airplane in forever, but do they give out metal utensils on there?
Been forever since I've flown, to be honest with you, so I'm not really sure.
After 9/11, I wouldn't even chance it, especially any kind of knife or anything like that, or anything that could be sharp. But I guess if you're thinking a spoon, I mean, who's gonna try to kill somebody with a spoon? I also want to know how he broke it off. The only other thing I can think of is if somehow he snuck that on there. But yeah, he was yelling, "My name is Baltazar," I think he said, which is like a name from the Bible. I guess it was one of the wise men that went and seen Jesus. I don't know if that's who he was referencing, or at first I thought he said Bulbasaur, which is a Pokemon. And I was like, yeah, that's not very terrifying, dude. But yeah, man, that's crazy to think. And in the video, an air marshal never popped up. So that makes me wonder, if they really do have them on every flight, or if they've kind of slacked off on that now. Because that's kind of terrifying if they have.
And I'm not really familiar with this story, but yeah, I mean, if they weren't coming out in the middle of all this that makes you think that I would have to assume there probably wasn't one on the flight. Surely, because surely they would have intervened in this situation.
Yeah, well, especially once the guy stood up and kind of brandished the spoon, like he kind of like held it up like this and like back down the aisle, like that would have been prime time to tackle him. But yeah, that's our scary news for the day. So we'll move on from that. And I want to actually talk to you about something that you're going through right now. How's the PS5 sale going?
So I actually finally sold the PS5 today.
Did you?
But after, and it didn't really take that long, but usually Marketplace, obviously I got probably 50 of the, is this still available? And then obviously, click yes. And then you don't get a response back.
I can't believe you didn't take people up on those rims, man. Just random rims.
Yeah. And then I had, two random people. The first one just asked me if I would trade for some rims, and they sent me like 7 pictures. And then also had somebody ask me if I would trade for a double barrel. So I don't know like what remotely thinks that made these people think that I would want these truck rims, considering I have a car. And then secondly, why would I want their double barrel for my PS5? I don't get it. Marketplace.
So the point is if you see Chris selling something on the marketplace, at least offer him 3 cattle and like a speaker system.
Nothing surprises me on Marketplace. I absolutely despise using it.
Yeah, when you show stuff, I was like, the thing is, they didn't even ask. You think they'd been like, "Hey, do you have a truck? If you do, could you use these rims, or was it a trailer, or whatever they were?" It just
really random.
It really is. But I mean, the good thing about Marketplace, at least, with technology the way it is, it makes it a lot easier to sell. I mean, you remember how hard it used to be to like try to sell things back in like the 90s? You'd have to like put an ad in the paper, or like I don't know if you had anything around there, but like when we tried to sell a car around here, we had a thing called Auto Trader that we'd put it in.
Yeah, Auto Trader I guess that was a big thing. I guess everywhere. Yeah, it was a big thing here in Tennessee also.
But the internet kind of killed all that stuff. But yeah, it gets me to thinking back in the 90s. Did you ever wear like Jinko jeans or anything like that?
I didn't really wear those. I think clothing wise, that really the big thing that I owned that people joke about. I see the memes is the and it makes no sense because I wasn't even a fan. The Charlotte Hornets jacket. I'm sure you've probably seen those memes that every kid owned these in the 90s. I had the jacket.
So. That and the Alonzo Mourning jersey, it seemed. But yeah, that's but I was gonna ask you about were Jinko jeans big where you lived?
I don't think they were. I think the biggest thing in my school, I guess more the whole preppy thing, and like I know like Tommy Hilfiger was like a big phase in my school in the 90s. That's what everybody wanted to have.
Yeah, there was a couple of years where like the preppiness kind of came in, but there was a while where these kids wore, what Jinko jeans are?
Yeah, vaguely. I mean, I do vaguely remember them.
They're these pants that have ridiculously large back pockets. When I say ridiculous, I'm talking like 8 to 12-inch back pockets. And they usually had some kind of symbol on one of the pockets. No really use for unless you're, I don't know, carrying a tent back there or something. But kids loved them, and they'd flare out at the bottom, which was also didn't make any sense because you get them wet or you'd step on them and tear them up. And those pants went for like 80 to 120 bucks a pair, and everybody was wearing them. And yeah, I think I owned one pair, but that was about it. I never really understood it, but that was one of the big fashion things back then. So I just kind of wanted to see what it was like down in your part of the woods, so to speak.
And they may have been a thing. I think I just remember more of the 90s in my school. It seemed like more of the whole preppy phase. It seems like I don't remember them at those as much.
Did anybody have the blonde tips at any point?
Yeah, I think I do remember. I think I do remember that going around a little bit. I did not take part in that, but I do remember those.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and move on here because all right, let's move on to the movie section. This is where I'm going to give you a quote, and this one will be pretty easy to name, and then give you a movie review, and then I think you got a follow up from the last podcast. So let's get into it. Okay. The quote of the day, and this should be pretty easy because it's going to lead into something, and I think you'll know exactly what it is. And it's a question. Chris, what's your favorite scary movie?
I have to say that that's from Scream, and that'll be one that I'll definitely be watching this weekend. I've been looking forward to that one for a while.
I thought it fit perfectly. Yeah, because the hype for the new movie is just it's everywhere right now. But please proceed with your movie review and your follow up.
All right, so the movie I'm going to review this week is going to be Cocainebear. I watched it, I guess, a couple weekends back. So the last time we talked about I guess the real story of the Cocainebear, as far as what really happened. So apparently the real story was, I guess, in 1985, a drug smuggler, Andrew Thornton, apparently was smuggling drugs. I guess he apparently jumped out of the plane. I guess apparently over Knoxville, but apparently hit his head on the way out. So he was knocked unconscious. Didn't use the parachute, and then I guess landed in somewhere in Knoxville. The interesting thing, I guess, that I wasn't really aware of is this: the plane landed somewhere about 2 hours away, like in North Carolina. So I'm not really sure, like, why he was jumping in Knoxville, because obviously it sounded like the plane went for a pretty good ways before it crashed.
Wow.
And I guess apparently the bear, I guess, was in northern Georgia. Apparently consumed $15 million worth of cocaine. So what was the name again? Was it Pablo Escobar?
Yeah, Pablo Escobar.
Yeah, that was very, very appropriate with its $15 million worth of cocaine that it took in. All right, so the actual movie. So first of all, like, I think you have to review movies like this a little bit different. I mean, you can't go into Cocainebear thinking this is going to be like an Oscar nominee and that this is going to like be nominated for a bunch of awards. And you don't go into it looking for just amazing acting.
Right.
It's definitely not what the movie was intended to be. So this was actually Ray Liotta's last film before he passed away, and he played a pretty good part in this movie. Really had a pretty good cast. Obviously, Ray Liotta, Kerry Russell, O'Shea Jackson Jr., just to name a few. And then I think Margot Martindale. I think I remember her, I guess, from Justified. So pretty strong cast. I would say it's everything that you would expect in a movie about a bear that ingests $15 million worth of cocaine and goes on a killing rampage. So pretty much everything that I would expect. I mean, really over the top. Lots of, I don't want to give any spoilers, but I think this is pretty apparent from the movies. I mean, a bear is attacking and killing people. So just
Yeah,
really
on most previews.
over the top craziness, but really enjoyable movie for what it is. I mean, you can't take it seriously. I mean, if you go in and expect ultra realism, you're going to be let down.
Yeah, it's like going in to watch Super Troopers and expecting a serious movie. I mean,
Right.
obviously.
It's pretty apparent what this movie is. I mean, going in, but I would give this one probably 80 cents out of a dollar.
Wow.
I enjoyed it. It was a very entertaining hour and 35 minutes of my life.
Pretty solid. Pretty solid. Yeah, I'll probably end up checking that one out once it comes out on video, which I can't see it being in theaters for way too long, but I guess you never know, depending on how well it does. Another one is that Pooh, Blood, and Honey. I don't know.
I'm intrigued by that one. It actually didn't show anywhere around me that I'm aware of. I have insanely low expectations for that movie.
Yeah, that's another one you just can't. You just got to go and going. This is going to be a freak show, and see what happens. So, do you think we're gonna have to sign off here pretty soon? But what do you think? How do you think Scream 6 is going to be? Do you think it's going to be better than the other five? Do you think it's going to be mid card? Do you think it's going to be terrible?
I think it's going to be about on the same level as the last Scream film, in my opinion. And obviously, you've got some of the same cast. Jenna Ortega obviously is back in the new one, and she seems to be a pretty big thing in horror movies these days. So,
Well, there's
I,
rumors that Matthew Lillard may show back up. Now, hopefully, that doesn't spoil the movie. That's just you read these. Sometimes they're right on, but a lot of times they're way off. But that would be quite a twist that he didn't die in the first movie and he comes back to wrap it up. That'd be kind of a cool, you know, closure to the franchise.
I was kind of halfway expecting him. I kind of had a feeling that he might return in the last movie, honestly. So it just kind of feels like that could be coming, possibly.
I guess we'll have to wait and see. All right, guys, we're gonna have to wrap this up here, but I want to thank you for tuning in, checking us out, and if you like us, please give us a like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and let us know in the comments what you guys want us to talk about, what you'd like to hear, or just share your opinions. That's all we're doing. So, thank you guys for tuning in, and until next time, we're cashing out.